I'm not used to putting these on.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, all right, here we go.
At almost 70 years old, Fred Funk should be celebrated as one of golf's most accurate players ever. But instead, his legacy is tangled in controversy, injury, and a single remark that nearly destroyed everything. How did a man who defied age and odds become his own downfall? The answer lies in 3 devastating chapters that reveal how even the most resilient competitors can crumble under the weight of time, pain, and public judgment. Fred Funk's story isn't about natural talent or early success. It's about grinding through rejection when everyone else had already made it. Born in 1956 in Tacoma Park, Maryland, Funk took the scenic route to professional golf. And by scenic, I mean brutal. He started at the University of Maryland, but here's the kicker. He got cut from his own college team in 1975. Imagine getting rejected by your own school. Most people would have quit right there. But Funk didn't have that luxury or that self-awareness, apparently. He transferred to Prince George's Community College, then crawled back to Maryland and somehow earned a top spot on the team. After graduating in 1980 with a law enforcement degree, which tells you how confident he was about his golf career, his first job wasn't on a golf course. It was as a circulation supervisor for the Washington Star newspaper. Think about that. While his peers were already competing professionally, Fred Funk was delivering newspapers. This wasn't some romantic underdog story. This was a guy who couldn't catch a break and didn't know when to walk away. He turned pro in 1981 and struggled on the mini tour circuit for years. The mini tours are golf's minor leagues where dreams go to die slowly. While other players his age were making names for themselves on the PGA Tour, Funk was grinding it out in front of dozens of spectators at courses nobody had heard of. The money was terrible, the competition was inconsistent, and the future looked bleak. Then came another detour. From 1982 to 1988, he coached golf at the University of Maryland. 6 years, that's how long it took for him to finally earn his PGA Tour card in 1988, joining the tour full-time in 1989 at age 33. By that age, most successful golfers are already established veterans with multiple wins. Fred Funk was just showing up, but showing up didn't mean succeeding. The 1990 season, his second full year on tour, was a disaster. He struggled with consistency, missing the cut in nearly half the tournaments he entered. Nearly half. That means every other week, he wasn't even good enough to play the weekend. The guy was fighting just to survive, scraping together whatever money he could from the few tournaments where he did make the cut. A third-place finish at the Chattanooga Classic earned him $34,000. A fifth at the Buick Open brought in $40,000. These weren't victories. They were participation trophies keeping his career on life support. The truth is, 1990 should have been the end. Most players facing that level of failure would have reconsidered their life choices. But Funk kept grinding, kept showing up, kept believing he belonged even when the results said otherwise. It's admirable in a way, but it's also stubborn to the point of delusion. After another year of development in 1991, his persistence finally broke through. In 1992, at the Shell Houston Open, Funk captured his first PGA Tour victory. He was in his mid-30s. Most players his age were worried about declining skills. Fred Funk was just getting started, which says more about how late he arrived than how great he was. But here's where Funk gets interesting. He wasn't just late to the party. He was fundamentally different from everyone else at the party. In an era of increasing power where bombers were launching drives 300 yards, Funk was one of the shortest hitters on tour. He couldn't compete with raw distance, so he built his entire game around accuracy. He became known as an accuracy over distance guy who practically owned the tour's driving accuracy statistics. He officially led the PGA Tour in driving accuracy in 1995, 1996, 1999, 2000, and 2003. He had a quote that perfectly captured his entire existence. "I'm a Volkswagen in a field of Ferraris." That's not humility, that's reality. He acknowledged that on certain courses like Augusta National, it was just about impossible for him to compete against the Bombers. His success depended entirely on tactical precision and finding courses where his Volkswagen could outmaneuver the Ferraris. This wasn't strategy. It was survival. He had to cherry-pick tournaments where length wasn't the deciding factor, where narrow fairways and challenging greens rewarded accuracy over power. He was constantly playing defense, never offense. Stories like Fred Funk's remind us how public perception can shift in an instant, sometimes unfairly, sometimes deservedly. What do you think? Did the media overreact to what happened next, or was Funk out of line? Drop your thoughts below and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten sports sports legacies. Everything came together in 2005 at the Players' Championship. This was Fred Funk's signature win, the single greatest validation of his entire methodology. At 48 years, 9 months, and 14 days old, he became the oldest winner in the tournament's history. But this wasn't a smooth, dominant victory. The tournament was ravaged by weather delays, forcing a marathon Monday finish. Funk, who began the final round 4 strokes behind leader Luke Donald, had to play 32 grueling holes on that final day just to complete the tournament. The conditions on Monday were brutal. Crystal blue skies, sure, but also 42-mile-per-hour gusts. The wind was so fierce it neutralized the Ferraris. Suddenly, power became a liability. The field average in the final round ballooned to a staggering 76.12. That's more than 4 strokes over par. Meanwhile, Funk shot a 71, a masterpiece of control. His lower ball trajectory proved to be a massive advantage, allowing him to lead the field in both fairways and greens in regulation. He won by a single stroke after making a clutch 5-foot putt to save par on the 18th hole. This wasn't a feel-good story about an old-timer getting lucky. It was a strategic triumph. Fred Funk didn't win in spite of being a short hitter. He won because he was the single best precision player in the field on a day when precision was the only thing that mattered. For one perfect day, the Volkswagen beat every Ferrari on the road. It was vindication for every missed cut, every failure, every moment of doubt. It proved his entire philosophy was valid, at least for that one day. But here's the tragic irony. Fred Funk reached his career zenith at 48, and he was afforded almost no time to enjoy it. His body began to betray him almost immediately. He joined the PGA Tour Champions in 2006, but major health issues started the moment he turned 50. By 2013, he admitted he had been fighting injury since 2007. What should have been his victory lap became a war against his own deteriorating body. The years that should have been about cashing checks and enjoying senior tour life turned into a medical nightmare. The focal point of his suffering was his right knee. During the 2008 and 2009 seasons, his condition deteriorated from a chronic issue into a full medical crisis. The pain and swelling became so intense that he had the knee drained 18 separate times. 18 times. Imagine playing professional golf while your knee needs to be drained every few weeks just so you can walk. Every swing was agony. Every tournament was a question of whether his body would hold together long enough to finish. Then it got worse. He developed a staph infection in the joint, a serious and dangerous complication that left him unsure whether he could even play in the 2009 U.S. Senior Open. Staph infections in joints are no joke. They can lead to sepsis, permanent damage, even death if not treated properly. The fact that he was even considering playing golf shows either incredible courage or incredible stupidity. But in a final, extraordinary display of grit, he did play. And he pretty much dominated the field to win that major championship. That victory, however, was the last stand for his natural knee. The pain became unbearable. In November 2009, his career was officially halted. He underwent a total knee replacement of his right knee. For a lifelong competitor like Funk, the true tragedy wasn't just the physical pain, it was the psychological toll of facing his own athletic mortality. In a vulnerable moment, he articulated this fear perfectly. "I love to compete, but I also can see the end of the tunnel now. The dark side of it where I won't be able to play anymore." He described his frustration, stating, "I feel like I can still play when I'm healthy, but I just haven't been healthy for a while now." This is where the tragedy becomes truly painful. Fred Funk spent his entire life fighting to prove he belonged. He ground his way onto the PGA Tour. He adapted his game to compete against superior athletes. He won the Players' Championship at 48. And just when he should have been enjoying the fruits of all that labor, his own body turned against him. The very thing that made him a professional golfer, his ability to physically compete, was being stripped away piece by piece. His recovery was as much mental as physical. He credited his wife, Sharon, as incredibly strong, working on him to give things up to the Lord to relieve the immense stress. His measures for success were recalibrated. After one tournament, he was most pleased that he had walked without a limp for 3 days. Not that he played well, that he walked without a limp. This is what Fred Funk had been reduced to. A man who once won the Players' Championship was now celebrating the ability to walk like a normal human being. He also sought regenerative stem cell therapy for tendonitis and a shoulder injury. His body was falling apart, piece by piece, and this physical collapse provides essential context for what happened next. In 2017, Fred Funk made a comment that would overshadow everything he had accomplished. It was at a press conference during the Senior PGA Championship at Trump National Golf Club in Virginia. While joking about his competitive struggles on lengthening courses, Funk stated, "I feel like I should be on the ladies' tour right now." He immediately caught himself and added context. "I didn't mean that in a derogatory sense, not at all. Just because Annika Sorenstam outdrove me, I'm a little bitter, but no." Too late, USA. Today sports columnist Christine Brennan wrote a column about the event titled Senior PGA Players Are Trump's Kind of Crowd. The column noted that Funk was wearing a shirt with the Trump name over his heart. Brennan described Funk's unprompted remark as blatantly sexist. She wrote, "It was fascinating that those blatantly sexist words came so easily to him. They tumbled off his tongue as if he had said them 100 times before. Perhaps this was the first time, but it sure didn't sound like it." Funk responded days later with a detailed rebuttal published in Morning Read. He called Brennan's column a hatchet job and stated he was perplexed and angry at being portrayed as sexist. He accused Brennan of having a premeditated agenda, writing, "Her whole goal is to take down Trump and anyone who supports him." Funk was livid that Brennan created an image as if he was a man who disrespects Annika and the LPGA. He stated his position unequivocally. "My comment was about me being short and being outdriven by Annika. That is not sexist." But here's the critical piece of context that makes or breaks this entire controversy. Funk's 2017 rebuttal was based entirely on a specific event from 12 years earlier that he assumed was common knowledge. Without this context, his 2017 comment is indefensible. With it, the intent becomes crystal clear. During the 2005 Skins game in La Quinta, California, the 49-year-old Funk was in a group with LPGA superstar Annika Sorenstam. As a known good sport, Funk had previously told Sorenstam that if she ever outdrove him, he would wear a skirt for an entire hole. On the third hole, Sorenstam's drive traveled 278 yards, 7 yards past Funk's tee shot. True to his word, Sorenstam produced a flowered skirt, and Funk, to the delight of the crowd and his playing partners, put it on over his pants and played the remainder of the hole. This 2005 event was the entire basis for his 2017 remark. He claimed in his rebuttal that this was the story he was referencing, and that every woman on the LPGA who knows him and the story would support him 100%. But Brennan either didn't know this context or chose to ignore it. She stood by her column, defending her reporting as Journalism 101, given that Funk was wearing a Trump logo. She did not acknowledge the 2005 Skins game context, focusing instead on the language of the comment itself. His comment about the ladies' tour, which was unprompted, was surprising. By any definition, that is a sexist comment. It's an important conversation. The controversy quickly escalated. Funk's son, Taylor Funk, then a golfer at the University of Texas, immediately took to Twitter to defend his father, writing directly to Brennan, "I'm sorry, Ms. Brennan, but there is one thing my dad is not, and it is sexist. The fact you think those comments are sexist is beyond me." But Brennan refused to back down. The battle lines were drawn. Funk and his family on one side, claiming misrepresentation and missing context. Brennan and her supporters on the other, arguing that intent doesn't matter when the words themselves are harmful. This incident is a perfect case study in context collapse. Funk made a self-deprecating inside joke referencing a specific event from over a decade earlier. Brennan interpreted the remark literally as a blatantly sexist statement, implying the ladies' tour is inherently inferior. The presence of the Trump logo acted as a political accelerant, placing the remark within the highly polarized cultural atmosphere of 2017. The controversy reveals a fundamental clash. Funk was arguing about his intent and his personal history of respect with Sorenstam. Brennan was arguing about the text and its public implication that the very phrase ladies' tour, when used as a punchline for being short, is sexist by definition, regardless of the speaker's intent. Fred Funk didn't set out to destroy his career, but between his body giving out and his words being weaponized, he managed to do it anyway. The three distinct narrative threads of his career are not separate. They're interwoven, held together by a single defining characteristic, a grinder mentality. His late bloomer status was a decade-long grind against mediocrity. His tragedy was a grueling private grind against his own mortality. His controversy was a public grind against a media narrative that he felt distorted his character. In all three instances, his response was the same: to dig in, to fight, and to endure. Even today, his persistence is evident. He made a PGA Tour cut at the Bermuda Championship at age 64 and, as of 2024, remains one of the most accurate drivers in professional golf. He still led the tour in driving accuracy in 2017, the 2020-21 combined season, and 2024. The Volkswagen is still running somehow against all odds. Fred Funk's career is not a story of effortless dominance, but of relentless resilience. He was the short hitter in the land of long hitters. He was the late bloomer among the prodigies. He was the injured veteran fighting the dark side of his own compromised body. And in 2017, he was the old school player whose humor and history collided with the new school media landscape. Every step of his journey was uphill. Every victory came at a cost. Fred Funk didn't just lose to time. He lost to a game, a culture, and a world that changed faster than he could. Yet somehow he's still out there, fairway after fairway, proving he hasn't given up. Do legends like Funk deserve redemption, or did he bring this on himself? Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the athletes time forgot.